Hi, my name is Steve Papoutsis. I'm the executive producer for Dead Space 2. So after the conclusion of Dead Space 1, there have been 3 years that have passed before Dead Space 2. And in that period of time, a lot of different things have happened, but I can't go into details right now because I don't want to spoil it for people that are really into our fiction. So one of the big tenets of the Dead Space franchise is to make sure things have a level of believability to them. And so on the sprawl, you're going to see all kinds of locations, whether it's the Mines of Titan that you saw today, kind of that little office complex that you saw during the decompression moment, and other very relatable things that you would expect to see in a real town. So expect to see those in Dead Space 2. So the idea of having the story start off where it does is really just based around, our need to tell the story of Isaac and what's happening. It just so happens to coincide with the outbreak or moments thereafter. I can't get into a lot of details there again because I don't want to ruin it for folks, but there's a method to our madness and there's a reason why we're doing it. And yeah, I can't wait to see what people think about it. One of our focus areas for Dead Space 2 is to evolve our controls and our main character, Isaac Clarke. We're doing that by making sure that the controls are even more fluid and responsive to players, from our enhancement to kinesis, which now makes it much more quicker and responsive so that you can actually use it mid-combat, to the actual rate of movement for Isaac and the aiming. All of these things are elements that we focused on to ensure that the game feels fresh and new for players, but still retains the same familiarity for people that are coming back to the game. As far as Isaac Clarke is concerned, we've given him a voice, you're going to see his face, and he's going to actually have a personality this time that we hope really resonates with players, and as they play the game, they'll understand exactly why we've chose to do that. So one of the main reasons that we decided to give Isaac a voice is because, let's be honest, some really nasty shit happened in the original game, right? He just was dismembering the crap out of necromorphs, being attacked, having pus-filled sacks explode on him, fighting giant monsters. I mean, the whole gambit of stuff. So the team sat down and said, hey, you know what? It'd be kind of weird if he never said anything again because, my God, doesn't he have anything to say about all that? So that was one of the main motivating factors. The other thing is the new story of Dead Space 2 is about Isaac, and we want to be able to express his emotion. And the best way to do that is through words and him being verbal. So we're putting it in because of that. You, my friend, are heading to Spoiler Town, and we aren't going to Spoiler Town. So as far as other people being with Isaac, I mean, it is a space city, and we'd like to hear more conjecture about what's going to happen. But again, I just really don't want to give away any spoilers for people. I think people need to kind of stay tuned. We're really reaching out to the community with our social networking initiatives like Facebook, Twitter, our formal homepage, deadspacegame.com. And if people are really interested in that stuff, they should just connect with us there. And again, I just don't want to give any spoilers away, so got to keep that on the down low. So one of the other new features that we're focusing on in Dead Space 2 is the idea of interactive and reactive environments. The previous game had a really great visuals that we were very proud of, but at the same time, the team and I felt like we can do better. We would love to give players the opportunity to do more in the environment. So that concept came to be. And the idea is that any shot, even a missed shot, may have some sort of consequence, whether it's potentially breaking something that then becomes a usable item for our new impalement mechanic, where you can quickly use kinesis to grab it, fire it back at an enemy, to the new idea of decompression, where one missed plasma cutter shot could result in creating a vacuum and sucking enemies and Isaac out into space. Those are some of the ideas that we had that really leaned into this concept of interactive and reactive environments. One of our new weapons in Dead Space 2 is called the Javelin Gun, and it's actually a tool. It's one of the things that Isaac will use throughout the game. The concept there is that this thing that looks like a giant nail gun will actually fire off these projectile spikes that will impale enemies to surfaces. So it'll take more than just one shot to do it. Some enemies maybe will only take one shot, some will take more. But the idea is once they're impaled, they'll either be flung back through physics or nailed to a surface. Now the alt fire for that weapon will actually electrocute or ignite an enemy, so it creates a bunch of new opportunities for players. They can now fire one into an enemy, and that necromorph may run next to other enemies. Then if you time it just right and you hit that alt fire, you may do some area effect damage to multiple necromorphs. So it creates a bunch of different opportunities for the player to be strategic in the game. So one of the ideas in Dead Space 2 is to continue to evolve our enemies and our enemy types. So we introduced today during the demo the Stalker, the Crawler, the Cyst, and the Pack. And what we wanted to do is kind of mix up combat. Again, make it fresh, but make it familiar for people. We want to continue to challenge players, and we also want to continue to challenge the team to create new and more intense and even sicker things. So that idea of bringing those enemies was kind of a no-brainer for us. We really wanted to have some fun, introduce them, but at the same time give the players different ways to dismember the crap out of them. And I think we've delivered on that, and hopefully soon players are going to find out what that's all about. So right now back at Visceral, we're focused 100% on making sure that Dead Space 2 is as good as it could possibly be. Those other ideas of DLC and additional game modes and things like that, they're very exciting to us, but right now all that stuff doesn't matter if Dead Space 2 isn't totally awesome, and that's what we're focused on doing right now. Well, I think that's a really interesting question, but I'd have to say every single developer on the team's got a favorite movie or something that they're inspired by. Creating Dead Space 2 is 100% a team effort. I've got my influences personally, things that I like. One of the movies I really liked recently was Moon. I also like Blade Runner quite a bit, and I see a little bit of that maybe in the Sprawl. But I think if you ask each individual developer, they're going to have something that inspires them, whether it's a movie, a comic, a book, a story, who knows. But I think the one thing I really want to stress is that making a game like Dead Space 2 is a complete team effort, and it takes a lot of creative people to do it. I'm just fortunate enough to be here to show off the great work that they're doing, and being part of that team has just been awesome.
Multiplayer, obviously, that's been widely reported. I mean, are you looking to do something similar to like Left 4 Dead do with the versus mode, Necromorphs versus like Survivors? Are you?
That's a riveting idea. Right now, all I can say about multiplayer is that you'll be able to strategically dismember your friends.
And you don't know who your friends are?
You never know. You'll have to stay tuned. It's going to be out when it's super awesome, and that's our plan. Again, we're just focusing on making it as good as it can be, and we're not going to rush it out if it's not a worthy sequel to Dead Space.